Welcome, everybody. This is Ray of RebelEars.com. I want to thank everybody for tuning into this podcast. So, a lot of things been on my mind lately from conversations I've been having with a few of my connects, dealing with, staying focused. And I'm a person who believes that if you really want to go for your dreams, you got to be scheduled, organized. Like, I tell everybody to get themselves a planner and write down their daily routines, because with me, every single day I have something to do. From Monday, I might be starting on an ebook. Tuesday, I might talk to some producers about a sample pack. Wednesday, I might type up some ideas for the next Instagram post. Thursday, it's all about being consistent. And even when you're consistent, you never want to do too much. You want to make sure you have time for your family, have time for your friends, have time to live your life. But when it comes to your dreams, of course, you got to go and do what you have to do. And, never settle for less. If you have a goal in mind, pursue it. Never let anybody tell you that it can't be done or you shouldn't do it or people going to judge you, because you got to think of it this way. People are going to judge you either way, if you make it or if you don't. And the thing about it is, if you try, you never have to wonder what if, because you don't want to be in your 80s or 90s or even older than that and you thinking of like what you could have done with your life. You never want to regret anything. So that's why I encourage people to go ahead and take advantage, especially in this day and age. Everything is to the point you can use a tablet, your laptop, even your phone. Like Anchor is really a great app to just get my voice out, especially for those who's willing to listen, to learn, to understand the process of what I have to do to get to where I'm at today, to the point that I'm financially stable. I can connect with different producers for production if necessary. I can get sessions, book sessions at different studios if necessary. But I like to hold those on the back end, because you never want to use your resource where you don't have to. You always want to have a necessity of the purpose of it. So, like, if I want to shoot a video in the studio with an artist, I can already hit up a couple of studios in Atlanta, depending on if they have an opening. Because the thing is, just like a studio, they plan. They got sessions booked at this certain amount at this time. I try to work around that. Even when I used to intern at Castle Hill Studios, I learned a lot about planning, scheduling, organizing, all that, booking. Making sure all the payments were taken care of, because when you're not organized, everything falls apart because you don't know which way is up or down. So when it comes to planning, plan ahead. With me, I like to plan at least 2 weeks in advance. The reason for this, because I have a family and I want to make sure I can balance out my work with my personal. So a lot of people will tell you, you got to focus all your time with work or family. It's just a balance, like with me. So a good example, right now it is 5 a.m. and I take the time to put aside to talk on this podcast for those who, like I said, want to listen to me, listen to my experience. And then around like 7, 8 o'clock, I might go to sleep just to wake up enough time in the afternoon to spend with my wife and son, because I do understand the value of family, but I also understand the value of time, because a lot of people tell you you cannot buy time, and I do not believe that. So, good example. Let's say if, you have funds behind you, and good example, you have a website, right? And you don't really know how to post a blog or set up an email list or dealing with graphic designs, all that, right? You can actually use your funds to outsource. And in that aspect, that's buying time. instead of you struggling to figure out all this that can take you like 2 to 3 hours, you might find someone who can do it within an hour. So, when it comes to that aspect, you should try your best to use the time that you do have. And I learned that actually working at matter of fact, working with Kwaku of Rebellion. Shout out to Kwaku. He let me in from going to a lot of events that he hosts in a way, because he has his own ticketing company, digital sales, and it is very creative on how he have it set up, to the point that I ask questions, because if there's something you don't understand, of course ask questions, because you never want to be to the point like if you can't get in touch with them, you don't really know like their process or how they have it set up. And he has a team behind him, and they have meetings. That's why I encourage people to set up meetings, weekly meetings. You got to treat your passion just like a job, because if you at work, you might have to be at work at 9 o'clock, and there might be a 11 o'clock meeting. You have to be at that meeting. It's mandatory, right? You got to make things mandatory, especially within your circle, so everybody's on the same page. So, okay, let's take Instagram for example. Like, if you're posting something, everybody in your team should post the same video or image with specific hashtags depending on what y'all agree upon. And with hashtags, you should not put it in your post. It should be the first comment. Save all that space. Even with the post, you want to put up to 4 to 5 sentences, because you just don't want to post an image with no caption, and you just put it out and it's not explaining anything. You always want to give people a story behind the photo or the video, but you want to limit it. But in that aspect, where you have your team on the same page of posting the same image or video, is better when it comes to trending, or depending on if you have it set up with your team, telling everybody to, have 5 people within the team to tag 5 people for the video, and you actually take the time to call those 5 people or text them, let them know if they can either post it or comment on it or like it or repost, share, whatever is necessary. Because the thing is, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all these apps are free. And we're in the day and age where we can make high source of income without having to come out of pocket that much. Like Instagram ads, Facebook ads, I would recommend those. Of course, you really want to venture off and open up your audience any way you can, but you want to be strategic, and planning ahead will help you to reach those goals. And, when it comes to goals, each year it should change. You never want to have the same goal. Like, of course you have, long-term, short-term goals. Your goal could last for 10 years. But the thing is, each year you want to come up with new goals, new, steps to take, because, you always just want to open up avenues to not limit yourself. Each year you should learn something new. Good example. This year I'm going to start learning more about music theory. I learned a lot about engineering from going to SAE Institute. Learned a lot from sessions I've taken. A lot of sessions I been a part of at Castle Hill Studios, Tree Sound Studios, Astro Studios, Walker Street Studios, and more. But the thing is, you gotta make sure that what you bring to the table is something that you can use long term. Never limit yourself to just like, okay, I'm an engineer, I'm gonna just stay in that pocket for the rest of my life. You could be an engineer / producer / graphic designer / photographer, videographer. Like, you should always invest in yourself, with your inventory, with your knowledge. I always say educate every day. Read a book, read your newsletter, like subscribe to different websites that deals with your profession. Because let's say you just have a day that you just bored, don't really know what to do. You check your email and you get a new post about, let's say it might deal with producing. You want to know how to produce this year. So if you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. So there's a lot of websites like proaudiofiles.com that's big on when it comes to production, EQ, compression, mixing, mastering. You know, you should always open your mind to what's the next step. Because with me right now, like I said, I want to learn music theory to get better with production. Because if I'm making sample packs, I want to know what key it's in, the BPM of if it's a loop. Like if it's a drum kit, you really don't need to worry about, the BPM or the key because the snare is just one hit. And you can always, change the octave. Well, that deals more on the lines of what I use when it comes to the instruments. Because I do produce at times, I use Native Instruments battery, and battery is very convenient when it comes to changing the keys, working with the octaves, compression, EQ within the actual software. So that's very beneficial. But like I said, even with the sample packs, that's my next goal. Because I want to bring y'all value and content. Because you don't just want to be stuck in the studio your whole life. Like I know a lot of engineers who do that, and I would consider that being a studio rat. Because, let me rephrase that. Because what I was doing, I'm not gonna lie, I was a studio rat when I was interning at Castle Hill Studio. Because I wasn't only an intern, I was actually taking over sessions, recording. Well, recording and tracking mean the same thing. Tracking just means like you're doing editing within the session that while they're recording, you might EQ or, do a little things here and there. But, I was doing I might intern at 6 in the evening, don't leave till 5 in the morning from, multiple sessions. But I learned a lot in those times. Because it helps me to put value in what I'm expressing right here, right now. So let's see. When it comes to, being an engineer, I love it, but I want to go beyond that. I want to not just be behind the scene, but be in front from, like Kato on the track. He got his sound device right now. He's traveling globally right now, and I learned a lot from him too. He is a very dope producer who has insights of the industry because he used to work with Funk Volume with Jaron Benton. I remember when Kato and Jaron was at Smith's Old Bar. I was with Tom P. I was his hype man back then, and it was a lot of fun times. I remember Grip Plies, Goyard, Big Face, Paper Gang, good time. And it's just good to know that I see a lot of people from back then still going for their goals because it's planned. And on that note, when it comes to booking, right? If you were an artist, right? How would you be able to perform at a venue? You got to think of it this way. If you go to a venue, who are you going to talk to? Some people will say, you want to talk to the owner. Yeah, of course you want to talk to the owner. But if you don't know the owner, who would you talk to? I say you would start off with the bouncer or the promoter, even the bartender, the DJ. link up with people of different aspects, because let's say you don't get a chance to meet the venue owner. If you talk to the promoter might hook you up with a performance at another venue. So it's good to go off that, especially if you really taking it to the next level of getting paid to perform. Open mic I would use as a practice run for any artist, because open mic is just basically, the mic is open for anybody to rap or say whatever. But don't disregard open mics, because you never know who's going to be in the building. It could be a producer just going to different venues, like, man, I'm trying to find the next artist from the ground up. Because you'd be surprised, a lot of producers work with artists if they're talented, and they'll provide the funds of the production, which can make that producer an executive producer. So if you're going to do it that way, by all means, do open mic. But don't just stay consistent with open mics, because you don't just want to be one of those people who just performing for free. You want your performance to have value. So sometimes you got to practice that, but also you got to know when it's going to be the time to, like, you know what? I'm not performing for free anymore. Like, I'm going to start, charging this price and stick with it. Never settle. So if you're an artist, I highly recommend you taking the time if you're going to perform at a venue, because I'm going all over from planning to booking to working at different studios for artists to work on their craft. Get with an engineer, or if you can do it yourself, make a show CD. Okay? A lot of people trying to figure out what's a show CD. So a show CD is basically, in my opinion, because some engineers do it differently, it's when you take your verse out, you leave the hook and you leave the outs, depending on how you want to set it up. And then, if you're going to have transitions, depends on where you're performing at. It might be like a 5 to 10 minute set. In 10 minutes, you can have like 3-4 songs played if you line it up. So let's say one song has like 2 verses. Another song has a verse. Another song could be a verse and a hook. It's about putting it together. But even when you will line it up for a show CD, you want it to be a live performance. So like when one song ends, if it cuts off, you should always state your name so people know who you are before the next song plays. But making a show CD is very simple if you know what you're doing. You get some sound effects. You might want some explosions. When it comes to gunshots, watch out for that, because I know like some people are not. Well, a lot of people are against gunshot. Let's just put it that way. So just be sure on what you're going to put into your set. It might be your tag. If you have a tag, always promote your tag. And then when it comes to the show CD, perform it. The best thing you can do if you have a show CD, practice while running. Like if you're in your neighborhood, go around your neighborhood, run around listening to the track, and try to do it at one take. Like it's going to be difficult, but the thing is, you want to work on your breathing. You want to work on making sure that you can be consistent, going down from doing like a 10-minute set. You're going to be all around the stage. You got to think of it this way. You're not going to be at one spot. You want to entertain. An artist is basically an entertainer on stage, capturing the crowd. In those few minutes being on stage, you want to engage. You want to capture. You want people to look at you like, come after you're performing, you want people to come up to you. If you at an open mic, you want whoever's hosting it to come up to you like, bruh, I need you for my next performance. You'd be surprised how a great stage presence can like get you paid, because they know how to attract the crowd. They know how to um, put their emotions in their lyrics. They don't run out of breath, because you see a lot of artists on stage, like you can't even hear what they're pronouncing because they're not really good at, you know, taking the time. Because back when I was an artist, I was performing at a lot of venues, and I learned a lot about breathing. I learned a lot about crowd control. I learned a lot about, mm, taking your time, making sure you remember your lyrics. There was only one time I missed like a bar or two, and I knew exactly what it was. It was a situation with an artist and me, and we had a discussion earlier. And while we was on stage performing, there was a few lines he changed, and I knew it was towards me because we had it. We had differences back then, and it kind of threw me off. So when you're on stage, make sure you're focused, because I see a lot of artists, they on stage, they mess up and they don't keep going. Like, I messed up and I kept going. The thing is, you got to remember that, while you're on stage, of course you're entertaining, you're trying to remember your lyrics, you're trying to make sure you don't run out of breath. All of that goes in, but take the time to do what you need to do, to have a great performance, to engage, to network. After your performance, you need to network with everybody for the purpose of, let's say, within the team, you're the artist. A couple of producers, right? And, everybody needs something. Everybody feel like they can do everything on their own, which, you can. I wouldn't recommend it, because you always want to lighten the load. So when you go to a venue, you perform, you're doing great, network with every single person in the building. The reason why I say network, you don't really have to get to work with them long term. It could be for the moment. It could be for the purpose of, you check their IG, seeing where they're performing next. You might be able to get in touch with the promoter, perform at that venue. Or the artist works with a different producer that you're looking for. Like, you might need more productions and you're trying to find a way to, get in line with that. Or you might get in touch with another producer, even a studio owner. You never know. Manager. You always want to keep it open. Shoot, you might even get in touch with someone with their own publishing company, help you to get your music across, commercials, radio, movies, TV shows, video games. Like, there's so many avenues that I didn't even tap into yet, because I have everything. Well, no, that's a lie. I do. I just took it down because, I want to spend more time with my family than I do with music, because I do have it on autopilot with the team that I'm working with, which is a plus. So, good example. I have up to 34 producers I work with. I got 5-6 producers I work with, 3 engineers I work with, 2 videographers, 2 photographers. I just got in touch with someone who does dope visual 2D, 3D. And it was just random because I was just networking. Well, I was at one of my artists I work with house, and he introduced me to this guy who goes to SCAD, and we started talking, got his connect, and we started linking up right there. You never know who's going to be in the building, so make sure that if you're going to link up with somebody, it's for a purpose. Like I said, link up with everybody in the venue. The reason why, you follow them, they follow you on any social media they are on. Promote whatever you have to offer. Like, if you have a producer who has a sample pack, DM everybody at the venue the sample pack, if it's a free sample pack, just to get more followings for you, more get your name solidified, but also the producer too, because you always want to think on how to market yourself and to build. So on that, we talked about planning, staying organized. We talked about, times I spend in the studio. We talked about how you can, you know, build your exposure from, going to different venues, talking to the right connects, and networking. So from everybody at rebelears.com, we want to thank you. Follow my Instagram, Rebel Ears ATL. Follow me on Twitter at Rebel Ears. Follow me on Facebook at facebook.com Rebel Ears. And listen to more of the podcast as we have more in the near future. And from everybody at Rebel Ears, we want to say thank you and stay tuned.